So hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Eppinger. This is the vendor webinar for MSA Forward 2019. We're very excited for you guys to participate this year. So this is just a lot of information that is really beneficial for our existing vendors, and information that is going to be really helpful, especially within the next month. And then when you're on site, actually working and talking with buyers that are going to be there. So currently, who we have on our presentation here is I'm Elizabeth Eppinger. I'm the trade show manager for MSA. Our staff is new this year, so I know a lot of new faces. So that's just our face, so you know who we are. Sam Edidin, who most of you actually have been talking to. She's our sales manager. So I know that you guys have been getting a lot of communications from her. And then Allison Ish is actually our trade show and registration coordinator. So she has been assisting me with any questions that have been coming through the inbox, and then anything registration related. She's able to help you with the system or getting your codes. So that's your main trade show team, and who you should be reaching out to. And we'll have our contact information when we send out this PowerPoint afterwards. And then over on the MSA board and committee side, if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Ari Lowenstein from Emergent Workshop. I'm one of the vendor members, the outgoing vendor member advisor to the board. My term ends at the show. I've been part of the MSA for 19 years, and I've worked with a number of different vendors. So this is, I think, my 17th expo that I've done, something around that. So this is, anyway, glad to be here.
And I'm Kristen Daniels. I am going to become the senior vendor advisor to the board once Ari is no longer with us. We're going to miss you, Ari. And, you know, most of you probably know me from the Buyer Vendor Forum. And if you are not on the Buyer Vendor Forum, I encourage you to email me so that we can join you up.
And this is Paul Stewart Stand. I'm also, well, I'm a former vendor advisor to the board, and currently wrapping up my second year as co-chair of the conference committee.
So we're really excited to be here with you guys today. And if you have any questions, I'm going to put our agenda on the slides or next. But if you have any questions throughout this process, we are going to have a question and Q&A time at the end. There is a chat in the top that you can actually put into, so input anything into there, and Allison, who's actually is just going to be watching out for those questions and kind of taking them down, so then we'll answer them all towards the end. I just also want to give you a heads up that we are going to be sending this out along with the recording that we're doing right now, so you will be able to get all the links, all the information, so don't feel like you have to rush and write everything down, especially with service kit information. I know that that's a lot. This will be sent to you, so don't worry about having to catch everything all at once. So we're going to start out with some information for you guys. I just wanted to let you guys know we have this vendor resource center, something that's going to be really helpful in the next coming weeks. There's a lot of questions that we've been receiving, so we've actually collected a lot of the questions we have received and the ones that we're anticipating being received, and put them into an FAQ. So if you go on our website, that's actually the direct link to that page, but there are a lot of questions answered on here, but it's on the opportunities page. So just scroll all the way to the down and you'll find that FAQ, and that's what it looks like online. So it's very easy to find, and then if you have any questions, just click on that question and your answer will pop up. And going along with that, we actually have some vendor deadlines and key dates. I'm highlighting one in particular because it's the question that we've been getting the most of when the pre-show conference attendee list is going to be emailed. March 7th, so mark your calendars. It'll be on March 7th, and I will be sending that from our expo@museumstoreassociation.org address. But then the rest of these deadlines are actually really important just because they deal with Shepherd and deadlines for when prices increase and when advanced warehouse opens and information like that. So that will also be towards that FAQ page, but just wanted to give you a heads up, especially about that pre-show conference attendee list. So just stepping right into our general service contractor. So this year, I know a lot of you remember we had a different one last year. Shepherd is our vendor general service contractor this year. So they actually are the ones who set up your booth and your booths, so your drape, your furniture, anything like that. So they're actually the people that if you have any questions when you get on site and you have anything about your booth, they're going to be easy to find. So if you actually look, this is our floor, like just a tiny piece of our floor plan. Their service desk will be over towards the entrance. If you walk right into the floor and then go to your right back corner, they'll be able to help you with kind of with anything, billing, information like that, and your furnitures. So I know a lot of questions have been coming about the kit, and I know a lot of people have received it, and I know a lot of people have been ordering things, but this is just a couple of other links for you guys to be able to access. So the PDF version of the kit is that first link. So you can just download that and you can see it online. But the only way that you're going to be able to order anything is to actually go online and order through the kit. So that's the link to the online version of this form. And then your login information is going to be your main contact email. So a lot of you have been receiving the bulletins. Most likely that means you're the main contact. So that's going to be your email address, and the password is MSA19. If you are having any issues with that in logging in, or if you've had any issues in the past few days, please feel free to reach out to that Shepherd Expo customer service. They manage that whole portal and the whole process. So they're going to be the ones who are really going to be helpful for you to log in and make those orders. So that's their phone number and their email address. Because the show, of course, is in San Diego, it is based off of West Coast time. So most likely won't start answering you until about noon East Coast time if you're based there, just as a forewarning. The next big question we've been receiving is shipping information. So there's a couple of different ways that you can actually go about shipping. So we have the advanced shipment address right here. It's going to go to the Shepherd warehouse in San Diego. So the warehouse actually starts receiving shipments on March 1st. So just as a heads up, if you send anything in the next day and it's received, there are going to be surcharges. So don't make sure anything is received after March 1st. And then again, through March 22nd, if anything's received after March 22nd at the warehouse, there are surcharges in place. But as long as your stuff gets in there between that time, you'll just get the normal rate. And then if you can't make it by March 22nd, direct shipment to the hotel is a little bit easier. So their address is right here. So as Shepherd the benefit to having Shepherd manage your shipment is actually they'll bring it directly to your booth. So if you send it to the hotel with their name on it, or you send it to their advanced warehouse, it's going to end up in your booth and you won't have to touch anything. If you want to send it directly to the hotel and you want to go ahead and pick it up from them yourself, and you want to pay the hotel the payment and any fees and handling fees, I would just remove that CO/Shepherd Exposition Services and just send it to the Town and Country yourself, and that will save you a little bit. But then also you won't have it sent directly to your booth. You'll just have to go and pick it up from the hotel. I've included some of these deadlines that are also on that deadline that I gave you earlier. So the direct to show site shipping, you need to have it start to be received March 26th through March 29th. So that's just the on-site one. And now going into the exhibitor timeline. So once you're on site, we have 2 different move-in days and then 2 different move-out days, and you can either of them are optional for you. So the first move-in day is that Friday, March 29th. So from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. we have the show floor available for you to move into. And then this other optional date is Saturday morning, March 30th, from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We want everyone set up by 12 p.m. on Saturday, March 30th, because we do open the show floor that Saturday from 1:30 to 5:30. So it's really imperative that you have your whole booth set up so that we can have a really grand opening at 1:30 and everyone kind of can come in and see your booth. And then we also have Sundays. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. There is, and later on we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule for the show. Anyone who is either new to the MSA or even those of you who aren't, my recommendation is going to be that you try to set up on that first day so that The second day, either if there's some last minute things, but that you have an opportunity to actually participate in some educational sessions in the morning and to interact more with the actual group itself. So while it does look like you could come in that morning, set up and do the show, when we get to our part about talking about the whole schedule, I'm going to be recommending that you come in days earlier. So just keep that in mind, that getting set up quick and then being able to get back out into the action is going to be to your benefit.
Great. And then the next day, you'll have Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. That day, you're also going to have a PM break, and then the lunch is going to be served on the expo floor. So that's why it's all that. And this is all dedicated time for the show, for the expo. So this is really imperative that you stay in your booth the whole time, just because this is dedicated time for buyers to be able to come in and see your booth and your products. And then that Sunday night is our first optional move out. So that's from 4:45 p.m. to 8 p.m. So again, feel free to move out that day. And then I know we did open up a second move out day from feedback from last year. So we now are opening up a move out from Monday, April 1st from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then we lose that space. So it's imperative that everyone's just out by that 12 p.m. time. So in a couple of other important move in and move out, especially for people who are really new to the trade show. So usually there are some restrictions on how you can move in and move out. So this year I've kind of given a little bit more of a definition, and then also given you some of the things that we've negotiated with Shepherd in order to make your lives a little bit easier. So the hand carry items, so they're items that you can actually carry in person. So what is limited, so essentially you can't have anything that can like stack multiple boxes on top of each other. So there's no bell carts that are allowed, especially because we are in a hotel, and there's no hand trolleys that are allowed to enter. So you can, though, bring in luggage. So if you guys are actually bringing your own products through the airlines, you can roll luggage onto the floor, and you can bring fiber cases with wheels. You just can't stack multiple things on top. So if you need to carry out in as many boxes as you'd like, you can. We don't have a limit on how many trips you can take. So if you want to stack all your boxes outside the door and then walk in one at a time, feel free. It'll probably make your lives a little easier. There is no fee applied from Shepherd for this type of move-in unless you use their cartload service, which again would include wheels. So they will charge you if you do have any wheels or the bell carts come in, so just as a forewarning there. For the drayage, it's essentially their material and handling fee. So this was, I know, a big issue last year that we've kind of pushed really hard to get a discounted rate. So we have the drayage, which is the price of the material and handling. So for large and heavy shipments, it's $125 per 100 pounds. And we did negotiate a small shipment discount, which is 40 pounds or less at that lower price. Just as a helpful hint, if you ship things together, you save money on drayage. So just try and put everything in one package, or try to put everything into one shipment, because you are going to save a little bit of money that way instead of having to pay per every shipment that comes in for your company. I know this has been another big question, is your booth package. So I've broken it down a little bit more. So you are going to have 8-foot high black wall drape. And then we did update this. So I know the service kit is being updated right now. We had a big negotiation and discussion amongst our team. So we are actually moving to 8-foot high sidewall drapes. So you'll see the high sidewalls being updated in the service kit in the next few days. So this is just kind of forewarning that is being changed from what is in the service kit at 3 feet. And then we have the cardstock identification sign that'll be hung up above your booth. It'll help you find where your booth is, and then you can keep it up there the whole time. You do receive a 6-foot draped table, 2 chairs, and a wastebasket. I know some of you went through, and when we switched our registration for the booth, you could opt out of those tables. So if you did opt out and you want to opt back in, just please send us an email and we'll get you back on the table list. But for those who did not opt out, you'll automatically have a table and 2 chairs and a wastebasket in your booth. So for the MSA mobile app, we're going to be using the same mobile app that we did last year. So if you already have this downloaded from last year, no need to re-download or go find it again. You can go in and it just should be on your phone and it automatically should update. So you should be able to go in right now. It's live, active. So you can see 2019 floor plan. You can see 2019 schedule. You can see 2019 speakers. So anything that is for this year, and it's getting updated constantly. So you can just go back in and see. So when on show site, you'll see that everything will be updated and correct. So there's 3 different places you can find it if you haven't downloaded it, and that is the icon of what it looks like in the Apple and Google Store. It's just the big M. So this is the link to the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, and then if you want to look at it on the desktop version, you can use that link. So once you get this PowerPoint, you'll be able to click on that desktop link. This was a little plug from our membership and operations team, Lyles and Kirsten. I know I've been reaching out to many of the vendors that their membership has kind of expired, but it is a requirement to be a member of MSA in order to be an exhibiting vendor at the show. So there is that $350 membership fee, but then if you guys have any questions about membership, Lyles and Kirsten are our 2 people that can help you with that. Their information is right there. So that's their phone number and then the info inbox that a lot of you know and have been using. So for registration this year, it's a little slightly different from what we've had in years past. In years past, you haven't had to go in and actually register your individual booth staff. This year, we are going to have you do that, so that way you have a badge on site when you get to the registration desk. There is a breakdown, so each booth, 5x10, gets 1 full conference registration pass for free, and then anything larger than that, a 5x15 or larger, gets 2 full conference passes. If you have any questions, again, Allison is available at that events at museumstoreassociation.org address, and she can help you with anything registration related. But I'm going to go into a little bit more. You can add, if you have not registered, we have the instructions on the right.
Sorry to interrupt, but
Sure.
just so everybody's listening, just because you have a booth, it does not mean you are registered. These are 2.
Thank you. That is very
things,
important.
Okay, just so
They
you
are 2
understand,
separate things.
you may think that you're already registered, but your company is registered. You're not registered. So you and anyone that's coming with you, you need to go through this process. You need to put your names on there so that you can have a badge, so you can get in, and so that you can be getting all the pre-show communication. Everybody can get that, and all the trains run on time. So anyway, there it is.
Thank you. That is actually a very important detail that I missed over. So you again, you do need to register individually, even though you have a contract with the booth. That means nobody's registered at that point. So these are instructions. We've also included them on the resources guide that you received ahead of time. But if you wanted to add on excursions or pre-conference workshops, the instructions are on the left to log back into your registration and be able to kind of go in. Otherwise, to actually register from the beginning, your instructions are on the right. So again, this is just more of a resource page, and then we have that on the resources and links document that we sent you. And then we also have just an example of what it looks like when you want to add excursions or pre-conference workshops, but we're going to go a little bit more into depth on those on the next slide. So these excursions are going to be taking place over 3 different days. The first Thursday, March 28th, is a full day excursion. So one of those is unfortunately already sold out, the Globe Theater and the San Diego Art Museum experience at Balboa Park. But there is a waitlist available, so email Allison at events, and she's going to be able to help you get signed up. But so far, the Tijuana tour, we really only have like 2 slots left. So get in there and get registered as soon as possible. The San Diego Zoo, so again, these are from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So these are our full day workshops on that Thursday. Friday is our first half day slot. So that's the 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. So our San Diego Zoo session for that is really almost sold out as well. So you want to try and get in there as soon as possible. We also have the Fleet Science Museum at Balboa Park and the Botanical Building at Balboa Park, which is also almost sold out.
Can I jump in here? Because I know
Sure.
It's not on until later on, but it makes sense here and now. vendors, you may be wondering why we're talking so much about excursions. This is not a money grab. It's not about getting your $95. Core to the MSA is the interaction, which we'll talk about more, between the vendors and the buyers. It is unlike, if you're new to the MSA, it is unlike any other group, any other experience that you've had. At a cocktail party in Atlanta, I was introducing a vendor to the MSA, and there were 120 people that were all talking and having a great time, and they're all in groups. And I said, do you know who these people are? And they said, well, they're all buyers. And I said, no, half of them are buyers, half of them are vendors. You need to know that you need to take the time to get to know the people that are there. You need to rub elbows with them. You need to have shared experiences with them. The excursions are a fantastic way to do that. There are 200 vendors in the hall. You're going to want to stand out. Your time and spending time with them and engaging with them over the course of a day or a half a day is going to be well worth it. And you're going to understand them and learn a lot about them as well. Plus, they're fun and educational and interesting. So the reason why we're showing these to you is because you should be making an effort to participate in at least one excursion. In particular, the ones that are kind of at the early part of the show, because there's a lot of buyers on them. And so try to work that into your time. I'm advising you as a general rule to try to participate in as much as you can, and setting this time aside to go and do that is a great way to do that. So that's why we're taking this time here to show you what's available.
And this is Kristen, and I'd like to second that. Last year was my first excursion that I'd ever been on. I went to Mount Vernon, and I saw a guy who was clearly alone, and it turned out he was a buyer, and we invited him to sit with us, and we spent the whole day with him. We had a great time. I didn't say hello to him so that he would buy something from me, but in the end, it turned out that he did have a store that worked with our products. And not only did I make this really nice friend, but now I have a new customer. And Mount Vernon was completely cool and interesting. And I loved, the entire excursion. So it was really just a fun day. You're not in front of your computer, you're out doing museum things, which we all love to do, and meeting new people, and it was just really worthwhile. So I would
Thank you guys. I think that's really helpful. So again, if you guys listen, these are your vendors. These are people who are experienced with MSA, and I think they're going to be the biggest help of what is it like from the vendor side and what's going to be helpful for you. And then we do have those Monday afternoon excursions that are at the Marston's House, Salk Institute for Biological Studies, and the Birch Aquarium. So those are all 3 days that we have those. And then I'm going to hand it over to our vendor advisors that can kind of help us go through more of that schedule and how it's going to help be beneficial for you guys as vendors.
Do we have the full schedule at a glance?
Yes, it's coming. Give me just one second. It's taking its time for me. Go.
Yeah, this slide is good because it kind of shows you what's on each day, but the schedule at a glance really goes through everything hour by hour.
Yeah. So seeing as I stepped up onto the soapbox, I'll stay there for a minute. When you're understanding who your audience is, whether your first time in MSA or hopefully if you've been there before, what I'm going to say will ring true. The buyers, the professionals, the retail professionals that are members of the Museum Store Association have a lot of commonalities across them. First thing is they really care about where they work. It is important to them that they're standing in front of a museum, that they are representing the last, most likely the last bit of experience that someone will have when they're there. It means they're really involved in what they do. They want to improve, they want to talk museum retail or cultural retail, they want to learn about what you do, they want to learn about how it's made, they want to know your story. All of these things are really, really, really important. So this schedule, what you should be looking at the schedule, you shouldn't be looking at it as when do I set up, when do I do the show, when do I take down. You should be looking at this schedule to understand where are all the opportunities that I can get out to be amongst the group. And yes, of course, it's a trade show, and hopefully you all do very well, and we're going to have some fun activities to make sure that happens. But when you read this schedule, what you should be looking for is, when do I have an opportunity to sit next to somebody and have a learning experience with them? I know that doesn't sound like a trade show, but this really is fundamentally different. We have educated, prepared, vetted buyers, for the language of a trade show, who all are trying to learn common things, who all share their best practice and their best experience with each other. I've seen at every trade show an MSA moment. And the MSA moment is when one buyer turns to another and says, hey, I just saw something really cool, you should go check it out. You don't find that anywhere else. You don't find that at other trade shows because that's not the way buyers work at other trade shows. But they do work that way here. And they'll say, hey, let me introduce you to so-and-so. And hey, did you hear that they're a cyclist and so are you? It just happens at this show. It cannot happen if you are only setting up, doing your show, and taking down. If you've made other social plans while you're in San Diego for the evenings, cancel them. You are here to meet this group, to become part of this group, and to rub elbows with them as much as you possibly can. So if we start on Thursday, so there's the full day excursion. I have recommended, I know a number of vendors are coming in early so they can have that full day experience. That's fantastic. And then that evening there is a sponsorship leadership registration reception that you might have been invited to. Otherwise, it's a great night. See, this is why if you've gone the excursions, you can turn to a couple of for lack of a better word, we'll say buyers, because they're much more than that, we'll say buyers, and say, hey, do you want to go to dinner? And meet up and talk and just start your San Diego experience by going out to a restaurant, eating some fish tacos, taking a walk, along the sea and along the ocean, and just chatting with somebody. It's what it's about. It's what it's about, and it's why you should be there. So, and Paul and Kristen, feel free to jump in anytime, even if you disagree. Next morning, what's that?
I was going to say, absolutely, do all of that, and think of it as meeting friends, because that's what the MSA really is. It's a group of friends who help each other buy and sell things for museum stores.
Yep. Okay, so now we have that boot camp, the first half of just so you all know what that is. Andrew Undianitis has been presenting this for years. He is a real expert in our field, and a lot of the first-time attendees will be going to that. That means they're already in town, and that means that they're on the campus. That means that they're walking around, and that means that they've come in early enough for sure for that. At the same time, we have the half-day learning excursions, which are probably not for the first-time people, but again, I'd recommend you trying to get out to those. And then in the afternoon, we have our first setup. Is that right? It's in the afternoon there on Friday?
That is correct.
Okay. The keynote speaker, again, being in the keynote, if you can squeeze your setup into a couple of hours, or if you can take a break to go and be there, sitting next to people, not that it's a group conversation, but being able to understand what the message is that all of them are hearing at the same time will also help you inform your pitch at the booth. So this is important, okay? So I'm gonna say it again. You have an opening keynote. Every single one of the attendees is gonna be in that room. They're gonna be there for an hour, and they're gonna be listening to Bob Phipps, the retail doctor. Now, he's gonna be setting the tone for what their mindset's gonna be. This is gonna be an important moment. If one of the people, if you can take time to go in and sit in on that, you're going to understand what they're hearing and what they're thinking. Again, I keep going back to the same theme. It matters. This isn't just a trade show. There's going to be questions, there's going to be conversations, there's going to be a certain vernacular that's started, and you don't want to miss out. So if you have a person, or if you can do your setup in 2 hours, from 2 to 4, and then you can run in and be there for it, do it.
Can I just jump in 1 second, Ari?
Sure.
You skipped over the the
Oh.
other pre-conference session, and
Where was
this
that?
is one put on by the
Oh.
Ritz-Carlton, and it's
Yes.
a continuation. It's not a repeat of last year's session. So it's a paid pre-conference session, but it's something that I participated in last year. And obviously, as a manufacturer, we handle customer service on a daily basis, and kind of learning from Ritz-Carlton, there were things that I, takeaways from that session that I was able to implement in my own business immediately. And so in terms of your own setup, if you're able to kind of get away and take advantage of this session, it's well worth the money. So I can't recommend it high enough.
And I'd like to say too, that I have heard that from so many buyers and vendors that last year's Ritz-Carlton leadership workshop was absolutely amazing, worth every penny. And originally, I didn't think I needed that because I think I'm pretty good at customer service, but not one person said that they thought, it was something that they didn't need to be at. And therefore, this year I have signed up for the second one. I felt like I really missed out on last year, but I'm definitely going to be at this one, and I'm looking forward to learning things that I'm not using at the moment.
So those are both followed by the chapter meetings. So the chapter meetings, for those of you who don't know, there are, I think, 8 chapters across the country. They are geographically distinct. You are a member of a chapter. You should try to be at that meeting. It is, again, an opportunity to meet people. This is much more intimate. There's maximum probably of 40 people at each one of these. They get to see you, and now you're on the Northwest team, or you're on the Southeast team, or you're on the North Atlantic team, meaning that there's another reason for them to say, oh, I know you. You might live near me. You might be near me. So when they're walking around the show, which starts the next morning, they would recognize you. At least that group would recognize you, and I'd say, oh, that's neat. Plus, it's a great way to get involved with the chapter.
Can I jump in for 1 second, Ari? Sorry.
Sure.
An interesting story. Was it 3 years ago? I went to the chapter meeting at a conference, met somebody from that chapter. Actually, it was 2 years ago. I apologize. I served in a volunteer on a volunteer committee with that person, and now I do a really nice custom program with them. So it just kind of, again, it's an opportunity to, raise your profile, get involved locally, and develop, a relationship with a buyer.
Would that sale have happened if you didn't go to that meeting?
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. So then MSA Next Newcomers Reception. If you are new to the MSA, that's for you. I'm not sure how the invitation process works, but it's you'll
open
know.
to everyone.
Oh, open to everyone. There we go. Okay, so it's a newcomers reception. You can go and meet. There's no hazing going on, so don't worry about that. Yes, so that should be great. The board will be there, and it's just I guess it's just a great reception. And then people will probably then break out and go out and do things. See, that's the whole point. Is that if you're there, you can get into a conversation and then say, hey, let's go. Take a walk around. Let's go eat something. Let's go get a drink. Let's go whatever. But it's another opportunity to really mix. Nobody should be missing the MSA Next Newcomers Reception. Everybody should be there. All right, so now Saturday morning. So Saturday morning is the second session for setup. But at the same time, if you look at it, there's a big chunk of education going on here. So sorry, before we get that. Continental breakfast, great opportunity to sit down next to somebody and eat. Go to the breakfast. Everybody write down on a piece of paper right now. We are going to the breakfast. We're going to sit down next to someone we don't know and say, hi, my name is, where are you from, and have a conversation. And if it's a vendor or a buyer, it is how your network builds. I have met more people at the meal sitting next to them and just starting a conversation than probably anywhere else over my, however, nearly 20 years going to the MSA Expo. It's important. You should be there. Being too cool for school and not going to the events is a mistake. Flat out. It's a mistake. It's not the time to go and say, oh, we're going to head out to this place. We're going to go somewhere else to eat. Nope, you're there. This is part of the show, and this is part of the experience. The general session, what goes on during the 8 to 9 general session? I don't know that information.
That's going to be, sorry, I think it's, I'm blanking on her name at the moment. It's a general session from, I think, Franklin Fixtures.
Oh, is that, oh, okay. Yeah, not to miss. This is, if it's the one with Franklin Fixtures, which is going to be announced soon, it's about human traffic patterns and how people interact with objects and other people. It's fascinating. It's like an anthropological, it's basically the analysis of when someone walks into a store, what it is that's happening and where they go and how they look at things. Totally fascinating. If that's Lisa's presentation, if not, it'll be something else. Again, it's an opportunity to hear and understand what the buyers are listening to, what the attendees are, where they're being guided, what their thought process is. This is going to inform your sales pitch and your dialogues with everyone. So missing it, not knowing what's going on, and then just doing your regular sales pitch, you're missing out. The networking break, you should be there. And then if you've set up on the first day, which I highly encourage everybody to do, to finish setting up on that first day, you can go to educational sessions. And these are really important. These are, so imagine about a fifth of the group is in each one of these. And this is when they are learning. And there are questions, and it is interactive, and it is the magic of the MSA. It is really important. And when vendors are in the room, everything is more interesting. Even financial management, even I'm certainly avoiding being outsourced, certainly about product development, certainly understanding about accessibility and inclusivity, fair trade, very important. All of these are great topics, and learning what they're learning and being there, you got a smart comment or a smart question, and I can give you this, I can tell you this one myself. One of the ways that I get noticed in associations is I'll ask a smart question. I ask a smart question, and now, you know, the attentions come to me and they say, hey, he's smart, she's smart. What's that question? That's interesting. Maybe you drop something in, you know, yeah, well, when I was selling finger puppets, whatever it is, it's a great opportunity for you to be there, sit next to people, learn for your own business, and learn what they're learning. So this should not be seen as we're going to go to the beach Saturday morning. That's a mistake. Okay, the membership meeting and luncheon covers a lot about what's going on with the MSA itself. So you're definitely going to want to be at lunch. And then everyone goes from lunch over and opens up the exhibit floor. And now we're on the exhibit floor. And are we going to talk, tips come later, right? We're just running through the schedule now, Elizabeth?
You could give a tip, Ari, if you've got a tip.
Okay. Sure, okay. So a couple of things in general. Let's start with this. If you're new to the MSA, a few things about museums, and this is overwhelmingly true. They pay their bills. Do not ask for a credit card on the first order. Some of them might give it to you, but this is not a regular trade show. Some of them have them, some of them don't, but they do pay their bills. When you work with a museum, you want to be asking them questions when you're talking with them about what exhibits do they have coming up? What are their major permanent exhibits? What kind of customers do they have? Ask those questions. They will have that information. Don't make assumptions. If museum, the attendees all had their way, all the vendors would know everything that's going on in their museums. Don't use a canned pitch. You want to ask questions. If they're already looking at something, that's fantastic. Put it in their hands, have them touch it and feel it. But if you're starting the conversation, don't think gift shop. Don't think art museum. I know all about this. Ask a few questions and get them talking about what they're doing. What are you here at the show looking for? What are you, are you buying for a specific event? Get them talking so that you can understand. That will give you the ability to actually, have a good show. There's also going to be, just as a small note, you're going to be given raffle tickets. There's going to be a raffle going on during the show. The way the raffle works is every time a buyer places an order, you give them a raffle ticket. They put their name on it, and they put it in the bucket. The raffle prizes, which is one of the sponsorship opportunities, will be going on probably or hopefully every hour or so. It works. It gets them wanting to write orders. It made a dramatic difference at the last show. People wanted the tickets, and they said, you know what, I'm just going to place the order now. Don't forget to give the tickets. don't forget to give the tickets. Have the tickets almost somewhere visible so that they are, suggested. Don't forget, place the order, you get a ticket. It seems small and silly, but it made a huge, dramatic difference at the last show. Paul, Kristen, trade show, MSA, floor 101. What else do we got?
One of the nice things is this is a big open hall, one room.
Yep.
So in previous years, the hall show floor was a little bit carved up. So it's one contiguous space, which is fantastic. Nice tall ceilings. So it's a great space.
Anything they should know about, just while we're there, how is the natural light or the existing light in the room?
The natural light is outside. But yeah, it's a well-lit hall. I mean, it's not, if you're a jeweler, obviously you want to bring, more light, or, if your product is, made out of stainless steel, you would want to bring more light. But in general, it's satisfactory.
Okay, all right, that's important. Anything else we want to talk about in terms of what's different about this show than different about other shows when we're actually selling? Actually talking with buyers?
One thing I would mention is that chances are you're not going to come home with a stack of orders like you do from America's Mart or New York Now. And that doesn't mean it's a bad show. It just means that the people you spoke to who are interested might not have the authority to order right that minute. A lot of times they have to go back to a board and present products. Another reason they might not order right then and there is because they don't have anything in their permanent collection that works with your products, but they might have a exhibition coming up. Might be this year, might be next year.
Right.
But that's really, one of the important things to understand is that even if somebody stops and talks to you and doesn't give you an order, you want to just know that person. You want to continue to have interactions with that person, whether it be at lunch or whatever, on the buyer vendor forum when you get home, on Shop Talk, whatever it may be. But it's just really good to get to know people, because the more people you know, the more possible orders in the future you will get.
There's my story with this is there's a buyer who really intimidated me, a very important museum. And I used to make these cubes. I was the cube guy. I had this one product that I made and I could customize it. And I decided, after having tried to talk to her a couple of times, that I was just going to sit next to her at every possible event. I just sat next to her and we talked, and like 2 or 3 years went by, and finally she said, Ari, you can talk to me about business. And I said, you know what I do? I figured when the time was right, you would say it, but it worked. So buyers, they have a lot of choices with museums. The whole world's coming to their doorstep. Sometimes they see you once, they talk to you the second time, they buy from you the third time. This is a longer play. These stores are not closing. These stores don't have the same pressure as Amazon. These stores have professional buyers. They have a continuous audience. The investment is there. We know it's worth it because you've come. Be ready to write the order, and hopefully things like the raffle tickets will do what they did last year, where people decide to just write the order. But have those long conversations, and Kristen's right. The standard of whether or not it's a success is more about how much time they spend with you rather than whether or not they write an order. Okay, so we've done a couple of hours of trade show, and then we have the gala. And the gala is so much fun.
Yay.
Do not make plans to go out in San Diego Saturday night. Dress up nice, and there's a silent auction, and there's dancing, and there's awards, and there's tons of food, and it's going to be as much fun as it was last year, and last year was a blast.
The band's
do not have to
fantastic.
wear a tuxedo just because I did.
Are the Irish contingent coming? Because they were super fun.
They are.
Yay.
They
And
are.
everybody, and Paul Stewart stand right here on this video. He's a fantastic dancer too. He and his wife, Nick. So all eyes on Paul and Nick.
Oh, geez.
I was impressed. No, really, you're good, Paul.
Well, thank you, but the band is even better, and so it's just a can't miss event.
Yeah.
You should be there.
And don't be shy about dancing, because I danced and I'm a terrible dancer, so you can all watch me be a terrible dancer too.
All right, so
Bring your dancing shoes.
a long, lovely night at the gala. Definitely participate. If the time hasn't expired and you have something worthy to put into the silent auction, I'd recommend it. It's another opportunity to get your product in front of people. You put like a basket of your gifts together. It's a great opportunity, and that one doesn't cost anything to do. It's only temporary, but it's still another touch point. Okay, so now we move on to Sunday. So Sunday, the buyer vendor forum in the morning, which is going to be led by Kristen. Kristen, what are you going to cover? What's the point of it?
Well, it's actually going to be led by MSA Next. And for anyone who doesn't know what MSA Next is, it's a group of young professionals in the Museum Store Association who are new. Some of them are new, some of them are young, some of them are a little older. It doesn't matter. It's just people who are going to be carrying MSA forward into the future. And they have prepared something called vendor buyer speed dating. And the idea is similar to a real date where you just talk to one-on-one to somebody for a couple of minutes, and then after the time is over, you jump to the next person. So it's going to be set up so that a buyer and a vendor will be sitting across from each other. The buyer will ask a question of the vendor, a little conversation will ensue. After 2.5 minutes, the vendors are going to move chairs. The buyers will stay where they are, and then everybody will have a new pair. And I've never participated in this. This is something that Steve I can never say his last name, from Popcorn. He created this. He has been doing it at regional chapter meetings, and I just can't wait to participate in it. So please definitely come. It's going to be a great way to meet a bunch of buyers.
So now we come into the big full day of the show from 9 to 4:30. Up until now, we have described over a dozen different opportunities for you to have met and talked with somebody, including the day before at the first part of the show. Well, they'll probably all walk the show, including the gala when you could have sat next to somebody and talked to them, including various breakfasts, like on Sunday morning, the continental breakfast, the buyer vendor forum, the excursions. So now all of this should be building up to the fact that when they walk through that show on that second day, they have seen you already, either in a chapter meeting or at something, so that they're stopping and they're talking business with you. That's the whole, I mean, sales obviously are the goal, but stopping and talking to you and having those conversations, what do you do? Tell me how it's made. They want to know. They want to know your background. They want to know all kinds of information, which they'll ask you, or you can work into conversation. It's not just here, I have a thing. It is important. And so all of that hopefully should culminate up into this. Lunch is actually on the expo floor, and this was done because we wanted to have more time. So that show, that for 7.5 hours, whatever it is that they did even on the first day, they should really be able to get around to everybody. So I have high hopes for that day. Then during takedown, there is another educational session, which depending on what your team is, there's an embarrassment of riches here in terms of opportunities. Future of retail, mapping a merchandise plan, buyer vendor partnerships. These are all great pieces. And then if you are a chapter officer, there is the chapter officer think tank there in the evening. Okay, and then that evening there isn't anything formal on the schedule. So what I hope is that by then you have made some friends and made some friends that you've already picked some people to go out to dinner with. Okay, let's cruise along here because we're probably going too long. All right, the last day is Monday. Continental breakfast, a general session about Museum Store Sunday, which is really important. The museum store discussion groups are divided either by size or by type, and those are interesting also to go and sit in on. Then there are educational sessions, and then there's the half-day excursion. So that last day is important. That keynote luncheon there, this is the big piece, 11:45 to 12:45. That's your opportunity to say goodbye to everybody. Everyone's in one room, and sit and have that last follow-up conversation. That's been a really important luncheon for me. I've sat next to people who I meant to have more time with, and even if it's just talking about my dog, I'm the last person that they talk to before they leave, and I'm usually able to take advantage of that. Okay, so let's move on from the schedule.
And let me just say real quick that all of these meals are included in your registration and your booth. So you don't have to worry that you have to pay for the luncheon or pay for any of the continental breakfast. It's all included.
Please be at all the meals. It will be worthwhile, and try to sit next to new people. And bring your business cards. Okay, so let's move on next to...
Let's go to sponsorship opportunities, which
Yeah.
I think is the next
slide.
There we go. So these are kind of fun, or I didn't even realize it, but I bought some drink tickets and a couple other things, and suddenly I was a Pearl sponsor, which,
Kristen,
you know,
we've known you've been a Pearl for years.
well, it was news to me. So anyway, there's a page on the website. I'm not exactly sure where it is, but it has our logo on it because I spent between $500 and $1,000 basically buying drinks. And I can't wait to have some of those drinks and share some of those drinks. And, you know,
Right, let's get to the next page where we can see what things people can buy in order to get to those levels.
Good idea. Maybe we click on that prospectus down there.
Yeah, and I think just in general, one of the things that, you know, Ari and I had done last year was kind of you know, work on sponsorships that were at all different kinds of levels that were really kind of, you know, meaningful. And so if you have a $500 budget, you could participate in a few different things, you know, on up. And so you know, if you have any questions, you know, there's Sam, you know, at MSA who can certainly help you, you know, craft.
Let's look at a couple of them though. Can we get to the page where we show the sponsors?
It's loading.
Okay. So a few of the ones that for sure you should do, the drink tickets that Kristen mentioned, it is not open bar at the party. Buying someone a drink is a great way to start a conversation. So, and also if you want to have a drink, you probably should be buying some anyway. Let's start at the bottom ones, at the other sponsorship opportunities. Let's scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then here we go, additional marketing opportunities. Okay, so the Expo floor raffle. This is $250, and what this does is this gets what you're raffling off. First of all, it gets it into the hands of somebody who wins it, but also they'll be announcing what it is, and that's going to be going on every half hour. That doesn't include the actual prize that you're giving, but the prize that you're giving can either be product, it can be cash, it can be anything that you want it to be. The MSA itself will be giving out some prizes during it, but we will talk about who you are and what your booth is. It'll be announced where the prize is. And so that's a great opportunity for exposure. The passport feature is sold out. The tote bag insert is a bargain. At $200, you get to put something in the bag. It needs to be fairly small. It can be material, you know, collateral, marketing material. It can also be a product. But that's a great one that gets into every attendee gets a bag. The product gallery display is undersold right now, and it is a great opportunity. Can we bring up real quick a map of the show floor just to show where that is? So when you walk into the hall, when you walk into the entrance, which is on the lower left-hand corner, okay, the first thing that you see, and I want everyone to look at this, okay, when you walk in, scroll up just a little, there it is. So the entrance is right there. The first thing that you see in this bottom area is the product gallery display. It's the first thing. So for $200, you can have, I think it's like 12 inches or 18 inches, I don't know what it is, but you can have some of your product there. It is a bargain. It is an absolute great thing to do. Buyers do walk in because they can kind of, without any interaction, they could walk around. There's a sign up with your booth, but that is, considering the fantastic location we have it, every time people come in and out, this bottom area has a number of different things. It also has, while we're on it, the mannequin displays, which is that it's pretty small. It's the smaller of the two purple squares. If you make apparel or jewelry or anything else that you can creatively use a mannequin for, that is a great place to put it. It's going to be all open so people can see it, but they're going to be milling around. To the right of it, that museum experience, that's going to be a setup of a museum shop where they're going to be doing this interactive understanding. It's all day long. There's going to be tours going on. They're only a few minutes long, but the buyers are going to be there for a few minutes. So this part of the floor is going to be well trafficked with the mannequins right there and the product gallery display right there. It's kind of a no-brainer.
And also, Ari, just
Yep.
one of correct me if I'm wrong, but last year, 2 or 3 different vendors came together to sponsor.
Yes,
Mannequin.
they did. They did. Someone did the apparel. Someone did the jewelry. Someone put, a little kid's something next to it. And there's a human size, adult size, and child size. Right, children are human too. Okay. The high top table sign. So these are going to be in areas where they're taking breaks, and they're going to be sitting there. There's going to be a sign right there, logo and booth number, which is a neat place to be. And then there's the drink tickets. You should be participating in something on this page because your competitors are. We've leveled the playing field as much as we can, and now at this point, this is where different companies can step forward. We can see the passport already sold out, but these are some other great opportunities. That product gallery display, sorry, it's only $150, is a mistake not to do, because even if it gets you one sale, it was worthwhile, and considering the fantastic location, I think it's a no-brainer. There are some larger sponsorships that are available. If we scroll up a little bit, that's when we get to the mannequin, which is, we wanted there to be a whole bunch of them that were $500 or less. Okay, so chapter meeting snacks, that's a fun one. Chapter meeting for your chapter, you can sponsor the snacks. The $500 doesn't actually cover the snacks. It covers your opportunity to sponsor it. So what that means is that you get to say, hey, I'm here and I'm sponsoring the event, and then the snacks are provided based on the hotel's offerings. And what's next? The educational breakout sessions. You can actually pick one of the sessions if they appeal to you that you want to sponsor, and you can have sales collateral there in the room. There are the adult mannequins, and there's a few others here. The charging station's interesting because there's a place where everyone's going to be charging, and you can put your name on it. And then as you go up, there are higher price sponsorships that are also available. What I will tell you is that we've taken the time to make sure that there's real value in all of these. I believe that the water bottle one was already sold, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so some of these might have already been sold. This probably should be updated. And if there's something that you'd like to sponsor that you don't see on here, there's nothing wrong with asking. If you think there's something else that could be worthwhile. I don't want to open up Pandora's box here, but Paul and I have spent a lot of time looking at it. If there's something else that you think that would be neat to sponsor, particularly if it's a giveaway to give to people, but it's a custom piece to make. I know time is short. There is obviously a sponsorship fee involved in that being handed out, but you can certainly approach us. If your total gets to one of these levels, that's where you get that recognition. Sponsorship, and I'll leave it with this, sponsorship is worthwhile at the MSA. In previous companies that I worked for, I spent considerable funds. They always paid off. I did fun things with it. They always paid off. So if you haven't ever sponsored, look at those lower price ones that we looked at. A lot of those I think are absolute no-brainers. I think that the drink tickets and the product gallery, spending that $300 is going to be well worth it. I think the tote bag insert for sure. If there's anything that people put on their bodies, they're going to go look at the mannequins. It's a cool display, and they're going to spend time looking at it. So give that some time. What else is on the agenda? Kristen, what did we miss? Oh, volunteering. I'm gonna, who wants to talk about volunteering?
I could chime in quickly. An email went out, I think last week, and there's a link to sign up. You know, as I mentioned earlier, you know, it was through volunteering that I got to, you know, meet a buyer who I hadn't had the opportunity to work with, and, you know, actually have quite a fruitful relationship with them now. So there are quite a few, you know, volunteering opportunities like greeting at registration. But I just encourage folks, if you have time or you want to build time into your schedule to take advantage of one of these volunteering opportunities, it's really a networking opportunity. So, you know, it's just another way to, you know, spend some time getting to know or soft selling your products and yourself at the conference.
And Sam unfortunately had to jump off, but we are going to be doing it like we did last year, space selection and sign up for booths in priority for 2020 at the conference. We'll be sending out more information about that closer to the actual conference. And then I wanted to just make sure everyone is actually receiving the bulletins that I've been sending. They do come from that expo at museumstoreassociation.org. So the next one's actually going out tomorrow. So look out for that. And there's just some updates with housing, with the service kit. So it's just general updates to kind of help you kind of stay organized, getting closer to the actual conference. And so with that, we thank you guys for attending. We really appreciate it. Again, this will be recorded. It has been recorded, and it will be sent out along with the PowerPoint and then also those links. A couple of the questions that have kind of come up. So I'm just going to answer a couple that we have answered in the chat, but wanted to bring up again. I know a couple of people were asking about the 8-foot drape. Yes, it is 8 foot on your side and behind you. You are allowed to hang things on it as long as it does not interfere with the booth that is behind you and the booth on the sides of you, but you can utilize that. The crossbar that would go across the front of your booth is not a current part of the package. If you want to add that, you can talk to Shepherd about adding that to your booth to hang something kind of towards the front of your booth. The mobile app, if you search Museum Store Association, is how you can find the mobile app. Registration, any excursions, you do need to be registered in order to attend, but you are allowed to bring a guest. So if you wanted to sign up to go to an excursion, you do have to have a badge to come to the show anyways, even as an exhibitor. So you can sign up for an excursion and then also purchase one for your guests if you have somebody else coming with you. If you have someone who is just coming for booth setup and tear down, they do not need a badge. We do have wristbands that will allow them to go into the expo floor to help you set up and tear down. They just need to come to registration, grab that wristband. Security will let them in during those times, and then they will just not be allowed back into the show floor when it is open. If you do want to have more booth staff, you do get you can have additional exhibitor passes. They're $135. I'll send a reminder about what that code is that you can redeem those discounted registrations. I think that's a lot of the questions that have kind of come in. All of a sudden I see a lot of questions are coming. So the one badge that you do receive for your booth, yes, you should have already received the codes. I'll go ahead and we have sent a reminder to the people that have not used their registration codes. But Allison, again, will be able to help you with that events at museumstoreassociation.org. So pallets, yes, you are allowed to have pallets. You'll just probably, if you send through Shepherd, they'll make sure that that pallet gets directly to your booth. If you have a third-party shipping coming to the actual loading dock, you do need to work that out with Shepherd because Shepherd technically owns the dock, and that is how they will charge you additional because they own the dock and they own that piece of the show.
And Elizabeth, would it be possible for you to go through these questions that have come up in the chat and just sort of answer them in an email so that everybody understands how to register and whatnot sometime in
Yeah,
the next.
so we'll be including a lot of this in the, we'll be including this a lot in the bulletin and then also in the information that is included. So we do have the registration instructions included in this PowerPoint and on the other reference sheet. So we'll be including even more if I've missed any of the questions here. But again, please feel free to email me at expo@museumstoreassociation.org. Elizabeth and me and Allison will be the ones answering those questions. But if you don't have anything else, thank you again for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great day, and we're looking forward to seeing you in San Diego.
Okay, and one last thing, just so everyone understands, they're going to get a file with this PowerPoint, and there are links at the bottom of all the pages that you can go to that will answer some of your questions. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay, super. And then anyone else who has more questions, once you get that PowerPoint, you can email Elizabeth. She will get back to you. And the final thing I wanted to say is that there is at the top of the MSA website, you know, a link that says MSA Forward 2019 with a lot of great useful links, including a list of the sponsors. So if you're a Ruby sponsor, there's your logo. You'll see my logo there as a pearl. And, you know, that's how you get your logo on there, is by buying some of those sponsorships that Ari was talking about. And I think that's
Participate. I probably should have mentioned that.
That's right. Participate. It's really fun. It's a great time, and, you know, take advantage of it all.
Thank you, everybody.
Paul, anything last from you?
No, I'm just really excited to see everybody in San Diego. I think it's
Yay.
going to be a fantastic conference, and I appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today and, you know, kind of share some of this information, you know, to make, you know, get the most out of the conference and make setup and logistics as easy as possible.
And thank you, Paul and Elizabeth and Allison, for all the hard work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.